Hello everyone, this is Ritu Gangele. I'm a Supreme Court lawyer and today I'm speaking about a much debated topic, that is live-in relationships and the stance of law in the same. Live-in relationships and premarital sex lacks acceptance by a large portion of the society. As for now, there is no specific legislation or statute related to live-in relationships and the subjects that arise therefrom, like succession, maintenance, property, guardianship rights, etc. Justice A.K. Ganguly in Revannasidippa versus Malik Arjun in 2011 opined, with changing social norms of legitimacy in every society, including ours, what was illegitimate in the past may be legitimate today. Live-in relationship, in a layman's term, may mean cohabitation of two unmarried adults living together under the same roof for a considerable period of time. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005 acknowledges live-in relationship for the first time by providing rights and protection to those females who are not legally married but are living with a male individual in a relationship in the belief of marriage akin to wife but not equivalent to wife. Section 2, Clause F of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005 states domestic relationships as relationship between two adults who live or have at any point of time lived together in a shared household, related by consanguinity, marriage, or through a relationship in the nature of marriage. Now, what can be described as shared household is also provided in the statute in Section 2, Clause F of Domestic Violence Act of 2005. The Honorable Courts further have interpreted the expression relationships in the nature of marriage and provided women in such relationships with some basic rights from abuse of fraudulent marriage, bigamy, etc. Section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code of 1973 was incorporated to avoid vagrancy and destitution of wife, minor children, and old age parents. The same was amended after the recommendation of the Malamuth Committee, that is Committee on Reforms of Criminal Justice System, which was formed in 2000. The recommendation was made in 2003 to alter the meaning of wife to include females previously in a live-in relationship abandoned by her accomplice to receive the status of a wife. Therefore, if a female has been in a live-in relationship for a sensible period of time, ought to enjoy legitimate privileges for spouse and can claim maintenance under Section 125 of CRPC. That is Criminal Procedure Code of 1973. The courts have neither expressly promoted the concept of live-in relationship nor prohibit the same just because it may be immoral in the eyes of society, although it is not illegal in the eyes of law. As early as the Privy Council of India in 1927 had observed that where a man and a lady are proved to have lived respectively as spouse, the law will presume, unless the opposite be obviously demonstrated, that they were living respectively in result of legitimate marriage and not in a condition of concubinage. The Honorable Supreme Court of India in as early as 1978 in the case of Badri Prasad versus Director Consolidation gave legal validity to a 50-year-old live-in relationship. Further on, the Allahabad High Court in Payal Sharma versus Nadi Niketan in 2001 opined that, if I may quote, in our opinion, a man and woman, even without getting married, can live together if they wish to. This may be regarded as immoral by the society, but is not illegal. There is a difference between law and morality. Therefore, two people who are in a live-in relationship without formal marriage are not criminal offenders, and therefore live-in relationship, if continued for a long period of time, cannot be termed as walk-in and walk-out relationship, and there would lie a presumption of marriage between the parties. Moving on, in a landmark judgment, S. Khushbu versus Kannimal of 2010, the Supreme Court held live-in relationship falls within the ambit of Article 21, that is right to life of the Constitution of India. The Honorable Delhi High Court has gone further and looked in deeply in matters of live-in relationship, and in Alok Kumar versus State in 2010 considered the point of infidelity and immorality under the garb of live-in relationship. In this case, the petitioner did not divorce his wife and had a child out of the wedlock. The complainant also had a child of her own. Delhi High Court termed the nature of such relationship as walk-in and walk-out relationship with no legal strings attached. It is observed by the court, if I may quote, it is a contract of living together which is renewed every day by the parties and can be terminated by either of the parties without consent of the other party. The Honorable Supreme Court of India in 2011 even went far to provide maintenance to a female in live-in relationship, observing that they are equally entitled to all the claims and reliefs which are available to a legally wedded wife under the provisions of Section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code, read with Section 26 of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005. The honorable courts have actually even gone in details and stated in various cases that if a man has a keep whom he maintains financially and uses principally for sexual pleasures, cannot be considered as live-in relationship in the nature of marriage. Similarly, one night stands or 1 week of living together, etc. cannot be considered as living relationship in the nature of marriage. Because of no legislation on live-in relationship, the Honorable Supreme Court of India in Indra Sharma versus VKS Sharma in 2013 prescribed few guidelines to address the issue considering live-in relationship in the nature of marriage. These guidelines are: number 1, duration of period of a relationship. Now, the Supreme Court has not defined the exact duration of period to be considered, but in layman term, it may mean elongated period of time and not just 1 or 2 years, where a person has been cohabiting together. Two adults cohabiting together for an elongated period of time is considered to be in a live-in relationship, and not just for few months or in break periods or for few weeks or 6-month period and 6 months you're away. You have to cohabit together for an elongated period of stretch of time, and there should be no gaps in between. Second, shared household. The same has been described by Section 2, Clause S of Domestic Violence Act of 2005. Third is pooling of resources and financial management. Now, this is very important. Financial support, sharing bank accounts, acquiring immovable properties in joint names or in the name of the female, or long-term investments in business, buying of shares together, or buying properties in joint name tags, buying houses in joint tags, etc. comes under the ambit of pooling of resources and financial arrangements. Fourth, domestic arrangements. Entrusting responsibility on the female or together for household upkeep, cleaning, cooking, maintaining of the house, rental charges, electricity charges, doing everything together. Fifth, extremely important, because court has actually looked deep down on this issue, which is sexual relationship. It is not just for pleasure but for emotional and intimate relationship, for procreation of children, companionship, support, care, material affection. It is not just that two adults have been having a physical relationship together, but goes deeper into understanding whether there was any sort of emotional connection between the two of them or not, and whether there was an angle between them for procreation of children amongst the same. The next being children, of course. This is a strong indication that the live-in relationship was in the nature of a marriage and was intended for the same purposes. Seventh is socialization in public. Holding out to public and friends, your family members, pretending to be husband and wife, and wherever you have been out together, can also indicate a strong sense that you want to be in a live-in relationship, deeming to be marriage. Eighth, which is last but not the least, is intention and conduct of the parties. How you treat your partner, how you have been presenting and talking about her or him in public, in front of your friends, in front of your families. How long have you been together? How long have you been pooling in your financial aids, been doing activities together? They all can term and mean that your live-in relationship was actually in the nature of a marriage. Now, the main question that arises from relationships of this kind is the legal status of children born out of such live-in relationships. The Honorable Supreme Court of India considered the point of legitimacy of a child born out of a live-in relationship in the case of SPS Balasubramanian versus Surutayam in 1994, wherein it has held, if I may quote, if a man and woman are living under the same roof and cohabiting for some years, there will be a presumption under Section 114 of the Indian Evidence Act that they live as husband and wife, and children born out of them will not be illegitimate. The court stands on children born out of such a relationship is in conformity with Article 39, Clause F of the Constitution of India that sets out the obligation of the state to provide the children with adequate opportunity so they can develop in a proper manner and safeguard their interest effectively. Further, the Honorable Supreme Court of India provided some important preconditions for considering the legitimacy of children born out of live-in relationships. This was propounded in Tulsa versus Durgatia in 2008. The conditions are: parents must have lived under the same roof, cohabited for a significantly long period of time, but this time has not been mentioned by the court. No walk-in and walk-out relationship. As I said, there should not be a period where 6 months you're residing together, 6 months you're residing differently, you have been together for a week or you've been together for a night. All these conditions are not being termed as live-in relationship in the nature of marriage. And no rights can arise from such relationships in favor of the spouse or the child. Okay, if the conditions that I mentioned to you are satisfied to the knowledge of the court, in such case the child born out of such relationship will no longer be considered an illegitimate child. Further, Supreme Court in Bharata Martha versus R. Vijay Ranganathan in 2010 held child born out of live-in relationship be allowed to inherit the property of the parents. So court has even gone further to protect the interest of the child in case the parents have died, and the child can contest property rights too, even though the parents were not married and were in a live-in relationship. The courts actually have held an independent view on the birth of a child born out of a live-in relationship. The presumption lies that a child born is entitled to all the rights and privileges available to children born out of a wedlock in accordance with Section 16, Clause 3 of Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. All these rights that have been provided by the courts deemingly from time to time when it comes to protection of the spouse or protection of the female under Domestic Violence Act or protection of children under Hindu Marriage Act or under evidence law is only to safeguard the interest of the innocent child being born out of such relationships, of the woman or the man deeming such relationships to be in the nature of marriage, and to protect the rights of successorship, guardianship, property rights, etc. There may not be a specific legislation guiding the same, but there have been several Supreme Court judgments which have always upheld the rights of such individuals. At the end of the day, as it has been mentioned several times by the judges of the Honorable Court, that it may be immoral to certain people of the society, but it is not illegal. And morality and law are completely different subjects. and law does not judge anyone on basis of morality alone.